Have you got one of those friends that's constantly posting photos and information about their children on social media? Do you love it? Do you hate it? It's called sharenting. What do you like about it? Or does it drive you mad? And if you're a bit of an oversharer on social media, do you have any rules for yourself? Any time when you think, maybe that's a bit too much, or rules about the sort of photos that you might post on social media? It would be great to hear from you this afternoon. 1300 222 720 to call through. 0437 922 720 is the text. And it'd be great to just hear how you approach it, and maybe how you tap someone on the shoulder and let them know that maybe they're just sharing a little bit too much. How do you go about that? On the panel today to get the conversation underway is Dr. Catherine Archer, researcher and lecturer in social media and communication at Murdoch University, and parent educator Claire Orange. Hello and welcome.
Hi,
Thank you for coming in today. So be part of the conversation. The numbers again, 1300 222 720 to call through. The text is 0437 922 720. Be great to hear from you this afternoon. When did sharenting really start to take off? Catherine?
I guess about 5-10 years ago with the advent of Facebook, and of course now with our phones it's just so easy, isn't it? So it can happen in an instant. So, and really academics have just started looking at this trend in the last 5 years. So even 3 years, we're still getting articles coming out now. So it's pretty recent.
Yeah, and so was that what you've noticed as well, Claire? Just with the right, really, is it Facebook is the main avenue?
Yeah, well, I think Facebook, Instagram is quite popular for the even younger generation of mums, I suppose. But, I think what's fascinating for me was before 1998, really, none of us had open access to the internet all the time as we do now. So it's quite recent. So it's really our young mums now have never really gone without the internet or social media. And, as an older mum, can I call myself that?
You go right ahead and call yourself that if you would like to.
You're looking worried. It's newer learning, so I'm certainly a lot more cautious. It's not my natural state.
So at first then, Catherine, everyone was just starting to post and talk about their children, but it's only more recently that we're starting to think about some of the implications of posting so many photos. Yeah. So what have you seen in the research that you've done? What's it telling you about that sharing?
So I think it was really important to actually talk to mums of young children. So that's why I went and talked through Playgroup WA. We did about 10 focus groups and we did a big survey last year funded by St John of God Healthcare, and it was quite astounding. So about 95% of mums are definitely on Facebook and about 37% on Instagram. And although they did answer and agreed strongly or quite well that it was important to be concerned about privacy of your children, at the same time, more than 50% were posting pretty regularly. So there's a bit of a disconnect between, yes, being concerned, but then there's that compulsion almost to post, because it does create community, it does create connection. So I think, there's that kind of risk versus reward, and maybe the rewards for parents when they're at home and isolated might be greater than the risk that they're perceiving at the moment.
And are there some benefits of doing that? Because if you're sharing something that's going on in your family, and very often you can get some information or tips from what another family is doing at home. So there are some advantages.
Oh, definitely. So, we talk about the village. It takes a village to raise a child, but a lot of women are isolated at home. They might have been in the workforce for 10 years and then they suddenly have a baby and they don't have anyone in the street. So instead of reaching out to their friends on the street, they're actually reaching out to their virtual friends or their friends that are also stuck at home but are on Facebook. So that was the number one motivation that I found that the women had, was connection and community, was sharing. A lot of closed Facebook groups where people with perhaps chronic conditions in their kids would be sharing information. So there was a lot of positives, but there was also that downside of fear of missing out, and also sort of that fear of, I've maybe have risked my kids' privacy by oversharing.
1300 222 720 to call through. What are the rules for you at home? It'd be great to hear a range of different perspectives on this. 1300 222 720. Have you decided to keep photos of your kids offline? And what's the reason behind that? Or maybe you just love posting daily photos, maybe even more than daily. Why is it important to you? 1300 222 720 to call. The text 0437 922 720. A few texts through, Claire and Catherine. Kelly in Bunbury, I don't get on social media after a few wines. I can tell when my friends have had a few drinks, then start commenting and posting. Thanks for that, Kelly. Is that a handy hint, do you think?
Definitely.
I think that's a handy hint for life, really.
And even some politicians have had that experience too, as we've seen.
And Nick says, I'm astounded at the amount of information offered by parents on social media. It oils a constant need for approval and conflicts idealistic images of people's lives. Less is more, says Nick. Are we setting up images of ourselves, Claire? Have you seen that over the years with those photos? It's like the real world is chaos and craziness everywhere, and in the shots, everything looks picture perfect.
Yeah, and I think it can create levels of anxieties in families whose lives maybe aren't going as smoothly as what Facebook land makes it look like. You know, you get beautiful family photos with beautiful birthday cakes, and rather than one bought from Woolies that you've slapped a candle that you found in the bottom of the pantry on. I think somehow people get this idea that everyone's life is just the pictures on Facebook, because you very rarely post the fails in parenting. So I think it does set up some unhealthy maybe they're not unhealthy, but yeah, I just think it's unrealistic, really, what's out there on Facebook.
Yes, certainly we did experience that in the research, that some of the mums talked about anxiety and the fact that it did seem fake, some of the things they were looking at. And I think having the micro-celebrities, the bloggers or the Instagrammers posting these perfect pictures, often being paid by brands to post these pictures, doesn't help.
Mm-hmm. So what, they're getting paid for it, or they're getting sort of gifts, toys, etc.?
Exactly. So often, brands are now giving things so that they gets posted and then promotes that particular toy or that particular birthday cake. Or, for the example of some of the big bloggers, they might be getting a $3,000 couture dress for their 6-year-old to attend a birthday party and probably getting it for nothing just because it's being posted on Instagram.
On ABC Radio Perth and across Western Australia, 13 to 4. Andrew has called through. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great, Andrew. What do you do when it comes to photos of your children on Facebook or other social media?
We have a strict no children on Facebook policy, and we've stood by it. There's only been 2 instances where our now 4-year-old daughter, her younger sister has not been posted, but she's 2 years old, but the 4-year-old has only been posted on social media twice by friends, and we didn't have the heart to tell them how strongly we are against it. So there's only 2 instances where she's gone up.
Andrew, thank you for calling through. How do you go about just letting others know that you'd prefer a photo of your child not to go on Facebook? Because that can become quite delicate conversations. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you do, Claire?
I'm pretty direct about that. You know, I watch people at sports days taking photos of children en masse and putting them up on Facebook, and I'm quite opposed to having my child in that array when they haven't given their consent and I haven't given mine. So I will ask for them to take the photo down. I'm pretty direct about that because I don't put photos of my children up.
And what's the response like?
I think it's the way in which you do it. It doesn't need to be aggressive. It can just be a part of protecting my child and my child's childhood is that I don't put photos online. I'm happy that you do for your child, but it's not my choice. Would you mind taking that down, or at least cutting my child out the picture?
Talking about sharenting on ABC Radio Perth and across Western Australia this afternoon. In the studio is Dr. Catherine Archer, a researcher and lecturer in social media and communication at Murdoch University, and parent educator Claire Orange. I'd love to know what your policies are around sharing information and photos about your children on social media. 1300 222 720 to call through. Catherine, what do you suggest in that situation when someone else really loves posting everything about parties or outings, events on social media, and then your child appears in one of those photos? Yeah, what do you do?
It's really tricky, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if I've got the right answer for that one, because it is a tricky thing. But, obviously we've got the parenting expert here. But I know that, some parents are concerned, but they don't maybe have the skills to actually say what they think. So, and you can be tagged without even realising it. I had one parent who had taken a photo of her baby and tagged the hospital, but then that hospital then published that photo on their page and published it in the paper. So, and she didn't realise that would happen. So you can have things like that happen without you kind of even knowing it's going to happen, and then you feel a bit violated. So, and the other thing is that we're posting photos of kids at a very young age, and they don't really have they can't give their consent. They can't give their informed consent. So there's things like the UN rights of the child to think about. Having said that, it is becoming the new normal. It's becoming sort of part of our everyday life. So
until they get old enough and they say, I don't want my photo on Facebook. Yeah. And Nicole from Subiaco is in that situation. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
Oh, I've got you loud and clearly, Nicole.
Yeah. No, my children are now 14 and 16, and we've only posted one photo of them, and that was faces only, sunglasses on, and they are always given a choice, and they always say no.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed this. Thank you for that, Nicole. I've noticed the same thing with my now 12-year-old, and it's probably been a couple of years. So probably from around about the age of 10, she started saying, you're not going to put that on Facebook, are you? Mm. So then it made me start thinking about what I'm putting there more and more.
Yeah, exactly.
So it sort of comes around in a circle like that.
Yeah,
You've never experienced that, Claire, have you? Because you haven't put the photos on.
No, I haven't. But, friends' children have. And I think also, in the age of the selfie, when we were kids and had photos done, you'd have to wait for them to come back 2 weeks and be developed and all of that. So you didn't get immediate feedback about how hot or not you looked in that picture, whereas kids now are very aware moment to moment of what their image is like, and they'll delete and retake. So I'm not surprised families are getting that feedback.
Do you think it's going, I don't know if it's just in my circle or it's wider than that, but I'm getting a sense that people are pulling back from, Facebook and maybe even turning more to Instagram at this point. Are you seeing it more wider than that, Catherine, like in the surveys you've done with the mums through Playgroup?
Certainly Facebook was still the big one, so, 95% and only about almost 40% on Instagram. But I think it's also it's coming up now that the teenagers are more on Instagram definitely than they are on Facebook. My daughter's only on Instagram, so it's seen as a bit old, and my students tell me that, we're all still on Facebook, but we much prefer Instagram. So they are still all on Facebook because it's kind of almost part of their childhood, if you like, for them.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia, exactly. And I think that Facebook does tap into that, of course, doesn't it? Always sharing your memories, and so it really pulls you in. They really use a lot of psychology and getting that dopamine rush when a friend comments or the memories come up 5 years ago, 7 years ago. You have that awe moment, and it's very hard to resist sometimes. Yeah. So, it is. But it's a big part of our world now. It's part of our life every day.
So what about some of the, like an obvious one is not taking a photo that identifies, like the school your child goes to is one thing that I keep in mind. Have you got others like that, Catherine, that you should be aware of for posting?
I think you should be aware, and also your locality as well. So there is in Snapchat, of course, now a location-based thing where you can actually track people exactly where they are, and kids are aware of that. So that's something to be aware of as a parent. And I guess really being mindful, it's snuck up on us. And just kind of working out what are your family thoughts and actually knowing what the rulings are, knowing what the privacy settings are. I did find in the research that a lot of people were concerned, but they didn't actually know what to do about it. So they were saying, but it's all too hard, I don't know. So I think educating yourself is a really good idea, just to get that sort of level of knowledge so that you can do it, but do it mindfully if you're going to post.
And Claire, what do you advise parents? You don't post any photos, so is that your advice?
Well, we all go about parenting differently. I think what I'd recommend, if you're a parent who is displaced from your family, for example, they're overseas or over east, and it's lovely to share your family life. Look after your privacy settings. Know that everything is the default on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook are all set to open, all of them. You have to go in there and change your privacy settings. And if you don't know how to do that, ask someone to do that. And then you can also take off sharing functions. So someone can't go, look at Molly's lovely children and share them with her friends going, isn't her dress beautiful? And you haven't given your permission for that to happen. So you can manage that space well if that's your choice and have tight privacy around your children.
A few texts to get through from Zach. He says, we have overseas family together with a close-knit family in Perth. We share a WhatsApp group with family and close friends of both of our toddlers. I've never shared on Facebook or similar. The groups give us some control, says Zach. So that's a good idea. That's really keeping it just in a certain group of people. Ted says a lot of people will share for family who live far away to stay connected. There's a point of saturation, but if you have a friend who shares too much and it rustles your jimmies, then just unfollow. There's a handy hint from Ted. Thank you. Jane says, I don't mind seeing the odd proud parent moment when parents post their child's ball photo or if they're made school prefect, etc. But when some parents post every single merit award, second place ribbon or goal they scored, that's overkill, says Jane. Is that when you get to the defriend? Maybe that's when you hit the defriend button. I'm not sure. 1300 222 720. I think we can sneak in this call from Chrissy. Hi, Chrissy.
Hi, James. How are you going?
Great.
Hey, look, I'm with Miralingo, which is a young children's foundation, and we obviously deal a lot with, looking after kids and kids' welfare. But we do a lot of social media with Miralingo, and one of the things that we've found in the research on social media is that Facebook actually has a community of 1.8 billion people. So 96% of the audience that you're talking about now, families, mums, are using Facebook as their primary connection, if you like. Snapchat is the one where you've got more your teenagers face in. They're going away from Facebook now. I'm not saying it's trending up. That's where mum is. That's where Nana is. And Instagram, I think one of your guests there was saying, yes, they're down around 40%. Things like LinkedIn, about 18%. So Facebook is this big way to create a community and to share information.
Thank you for that, Chrissy. Good to get that input this afternoon. It's 4 minutes to 4, ABC Radio Perth and across Western Australia, just talking about sharenting, sharing all that information and those photos about your children on social media. And Dr. Catherine Archer from Murdoch University in the studio this afternoon. Alongside her is Claire Orange, a parent educator. You're part of a really interesting conference, does it start next week, Catherine?
It does. It starts on Tuesday. Well, the welcome's on Monday night, but yeah, it starts on Tuesday. It's the Digitising Early Childhood Conference. It's an international conference, and we've got Professor Sonia Livingston, who's coming from England to speak. So, I mean, she's just the guru for basically around the world. So we've got some brilliant... It's being organised by Edith Cowan University. Professor Lelia Green's one of the key organisers of it. And, so I'm going to be sharing on that, and I'm also going to be looking at branding and kind of children as brand extensions with some of these Instagrammers. So that'll be my other paper at the conference.
Well, some of them are incredible, and the one's she's not coming to my mind, but she's got a little girl. She's got a little boy and a little girl. I think she's based in Sydney. She's a PR guru.
Pixie Curtis is her daughter, and Roxy Jasenko. She was,
that's her.
Just had her 6th birthday, and that was the 3,000 couture dress that I was referring to.
That's exactly the one that came to mind, and that is a real her Instagram account, a real marketing tool for that. I think the two children now have their own Instagram accounts, but they've got businesses in themselves.
That's right.
The little girl does.
Yeah, so the little girl has her pixie bows, which sell to Suri Cruise apparently and right around the world. So she is making a lot of money and is basically working at the tender age of 5 and 6 on this every single day. She's posing on Instagram and selling stuff. And selling a lot of other brands too through them. So every single post, the school moment has the shoes, and they're sponsored. So every single moment of celebration in her childhood is a sponsored moment.
And even if we look to the Kim Kardashian West as another example,
same sort of thing,
the whole children's line that's evolved out of having the daughter and her son now, and again you can see the same sort of thing happening there.
Yeah.
That's going to be great conference. Good luck with it next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in. Good to catch up with you, Catherine. Dr. Catherine Archer, researcher and lecturer in social media and communication at Murdoch University, and parent educator Claire Orange in the studio today, talking about sharenting.